all the activity took place within the amphitheater. So the Colosseum, the part that's called the arena, is that circular area where everybody was fighting and all the activities. Okay?
So the arena is only specific for the Colosseum.
It's specific for the amphitheater.
Amphitheater.
Because the Colosseum is an amphitheater.
Right.
Okay? So that is a Roman contribution. The Greeks were the ones who presented us with a theater. The Romans added
Another theater.
amphitheater. Okay? Now we are actually standing on the Cardo. This was not known. We're still in the upper city in Second Temple period, okay? So, here we are, and we don't see in this particular map, we don't see any Cardo, okay? There was an open air street that went along the eastern part of the Temple Mount, which you can see today when you go into the Western Wall tunnels, but there was no Cardo.
Is the second period?
Second Temple period. Okay. Here we have, whoops, sorry. We have Aelia Capitolina. This is the first time where we see the Cardo. So what happens is Hadrian chops up all the upper city neighborhood, which mainly had burned anyway with the destruction of the temple, and he lays out two Cardos, Cardo Maximus, and they both come to his statue in his Victory Shrine Plaza. And one is called Maximus, coming from the upper city, and the other one, which is right along the base of the valley, is called Valensis. So he had two Cardos and two straight north-south streets, and this is one of them. This is Cardo Maximus. Now, nobody in Byzantine period, they used this Cardo as the Via Dolorosa, okay? But after that, when we get to the Muslim period, we still have the Cardos. Now see, in the Byzantine period, we have the Cardos, okay? So no confusion there in terms of Aelia Capitolina. When we get into the Muslim period, we see Cardos, but they become kind of like the souk, the bazaar, okay? And it's still a central artery. We have also in the Mameluke period the Cardos. They're not known as the Cardos. They're known as the souk or the bazaar, like we have today in Istanbul and every eastern city. Okay, so it's.
So you say it's the two Cardos? So the
Hadrian did two of them. He made two of them.
So the Maximus and another Cardo is named
Valensis.
So can we?
You can.
Is this there?
Yeah, there's still parts of Valensis that you can walk on. In fact, if you go down to the Dung Gate, you just walk towards the South Temple Mount Archaeological Center. You can see part of Cardo, the Cardo right there.
Sorry, where again?
You know where the Davidson Center is?
Yes.
Okay, right there, just before you enter in, off to the left is the Cardo, and they have a big painting showing you what the Cardo looked like.
Oh, so that's the other Cardo.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This is Max.
Yeah, so this is Maximus, okay? And this part, and the part that we're going to walk on after we look at the Medva map, was all excavated after 1967. Up until that time, all of this had gotten filled in with either rubble or houses upon houses and storerooms upon storerooms, and it got all very confusing. And the Jordanians occupied this area from 1948 until 1967, and they basically leveled the whole Jewish quarter. This is where the Jews were living since 13th century when they were allowed back into the city. They were all crowded in here. And then in 1948, during the war, the Jordanians conquered this area and drove the Jews out. And it wasn't until 1967 that we began to excavate, and very smartly so, before they started to rebuild the Jewish quarter, they started to excavate everywhere. And they discovered the Herodian quarter. They discovered the Cardo. They discovered the Broad Wall of Hezekiah. And a lot more things, like the Israelite Tower, and on and on. They discovered all kinds of things. And then they built the houses over the antiquities. And Willie and I were just discussing that that's probably what will happen with the excavations in the Armenian parking lot. Something like that, where they will discover all this first century stuff and then they'll build modern residences over the antiquities. So it actually preserves them. Okay?
So, where's the Herodian quarter?
I'm going to take you to it. First, we're going to just look at the map, and then we'll pop up the stairs. We'll go in. I'll show you where the Herodian quarter is, and then from there we can maybe do a lookout down over the wall, down into the Western Wall Plaza. Then we'll get back on the Cardo, and then we'll walk to the Sepulchre, the Holy Sepulchre. Okay?
So, Jordanian